When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that would never debase itself by basing an entire episode on promoting its live show in New York City on June 4th at 7 p.m. at The Spot.
In Hell's Kitchen. We would never.
Never. We would never.
We would never.
We genuinely are very excited to talk about New York City, not just for our own promotional gain.
Gayishpodcast.com/live. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today
we're going to talk about New York.
New York City. Get a rope, Kyle. I love that face. When I can make you make that face, everything is amazing.
Oh God! I need to stop rewarding your bad behavior with it's just disappointed face. Maybe
the beatings will continue until morale improves. Just so you know.
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna talk about New York City.
Yeah,
because as you said, it's just an attempt to sell more tickets.
Yeah, it's a week and a half away.
It's a week and a half away. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
We will be. We'll get ready by the time we show up there.
But first, here's the news.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
All right, Kyle.
All right, Mike.
News the first. There's data that was released by the Cultural Currents Institute, the CCI, and they claim to now know which state is the most closeted. Do you have a guess?
I mean, is it Utah?
It is Utah!
Oh my God!
Congratulations.
Ding, 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 ding.
Did you already know that?
No, I didn't. No, I guessed. What, Mike? I got it right, so you think I cheated.
Oh.
Mean.
I don't know how to process. I don't.
It's okay. We can.
I celebrate your success, Kyle.
I celebrate your success verbally and in accordance with law.
They looked at Google search data from 2004 to 2023, and they tracked search terms such as, am I gay? Am I lesbian? Am I trans? How to come out? And non-binary. They looked at all 50 states and the District of Columbia. And Utah was number one in 3 out of those 5 terms that I just mentioned. The Republican-controlled state is home to the largest population of Mormons in the United States, has traditionally conservative social values, and apparently is very anxious about their sexual orientation. So the top 5 states for the search term "Am I gay?" were Utah, Iowa, where our lovely production assistant Derek is from, Indiana, West Virginia, and New Hampshire. Top 5 states for the search term "Am I lesbian?" Utah, Connecticut, Kentucky, Washington, and Colorado. Are there,
we live in Washington,
tentative or unsure lesbians in Washington? I don't know.
I guess so.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't go through the rest of them, but what I want to know is, what do you think about that as a methodology? Do you think, it seems to me a bridge too far to look at those search data and then say most closeted. It means most closeted.
I think I like this. I mean, I think search is it's like what personal things. I mean, the other thing you could look at is porn habits, but search is like a very personal.
Oh my God!
What you care about.
I just got a horrible feeling in my stomach of like if the universe could see my search term history just from doing this show alone.
Oh, yeah. You'd like people to tell our topics every week, I think.
Yeah.
So I like this. I think it's a smart tactic to use.
The CCI explains that the data is relative, representing each term's share of all Google searches for the region or time period being examined, and that the data does not simply reflect the reality that more people are using Google today than in 2020 or in 2004. Don't know how they corrected for that, but they claim to have. Anyway, yeah. News the second.
I was swallowing, so yes, I'm prepared, actively listening to you.
Great. Excellent. Well, no, not excellent. This is really sad.
Oh.
St. Cloud, Florida had a Pride event that was scheduled for June the 10th, and last week they canceled it.
Yeah.
They specifically said because of Florida legislation They were afraid that the recent state laws passed in the don't say gay, fuckface, dickbag, asshole DeSantis universe might mean that their Pride Festival would be illegal, that there would be harsh penalties imposed because they arguably are a venue that would permit children to view an adult live performance under the definitions in state law. And so they just canceled it.
Yeah. I really enjoy the comparisons that people make. Like, people will post pictures of a child at Hooters and be like, you think this is okay? Like, there is no other reason other than it is gay people doing this.
Right.
When you and other straight people and people you're attracted to do this, you don't give a shit if your kids are around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're disgusting perverts, Kyle.
Exactly.
The straight people are normal.
Yeah. I would like to...
I don't actually believe that.
Oh, no.
This is somebody's first episode.
Oh, no. That was the Mike sarcasm. Classic Mike sarcasm. I want to nominate DeSantis as king fuckface dickbag asshole.
Great. Okay. Are there other nominees?
I have none.
Great.
He is my sole, the one person I'm pushing forward.
Okay.
Let's...
Ron.
Fuck you, Ron.
God, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, there are other events in Florida that have been canceled recently. There was a Pride-related festival in Tampa, Port St. Lucie, and in Lake County. So the thing is, they sort of implied or said even that this wasn't what they were going after, that they weren't going to use this legislation. And everybody was like, okay, we'll take your word for it. And that's so fucking stupid because clearly they wanted to silence and destroy and hide gay people.
Yeah.
And it's working. And it's fucking fascism, Kyle. That's what it is.
Russia's like, we're just doing military drills on the border. We don't want to do anything. And everyone's like, no, you're fucking not. Yeah. Like, we can see with our eyes what's happening, and you can't pretend that it's not. We know what you're going to do next. You just, we're still in this new world of what you say doesn't matter, and everything can be a lie, and you have no repercussion for it.
Yep.
Fucking sucks.
Yep, fucking sucks. Fuck you, Florida, and everywhere else that shit like that is happening. Tennessee and Nebraska and Texas, and you fucking name it, it's happening.
Yep, absolutely.
Dickbag, fuckface assholes.
Yeah, Ron.
News of the last?
Yeah.
All right, news of the last. We got to get into this thing, Kyle. The Los Angeles Dodgers are in a world of shit now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've not been following it at all,
the Dodgers play baseball.
The LA Dodgers play baseball, and they have an annual Pride Night. And it's a rather popular Pride Night, being in the Los Angeles area. There's a lot of fucking gays there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have data on that coming up.
Great. Excellent. And they announced recently that they were going to be honoring the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence with their Community Heroes Award.
I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah. So when it was announced that they would be the recipients for all of the work that they do, and they do amazing work in especially raising money for HIV/AIDS research and treatment.
Yep.
And evangelizing things like PrEP. They just are really amazing. And if you've never seen them before or don't know who they are, like if you see a kabuki-faced bearded nun with a glitter beard, that's more likely than not a Sister of Perpetual Indulgence.
Yeah.
More on them later. But so then a campaign started, not in California. Let's see, what was the name of that? Catholic Vote started a call-in campaign saying that, quote, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are an anti-Catholic hate group which exists to desecrate and degrade the Catholic faith. The idea being you're making fun of nuns by dressing up like women, you disgusting drag queens.
Yeah. When actually they're raising money for charities and in the community and like doing more charity work than some actual Christians.
Yep. Again, this is more, quote, for a revered all-American institution like the Dodgers to bring the sisters into mainstream and honor them is reprehensible. He went on and accused the sisters of, quote, taunting the women religious who serve the poor in Southern California and around the world. Now, Sister Unity, who's a founding member of the Los Angeles Order, who was one of the people being honored at Dodger Stadium, she said, quote, "We are not anti-Catholic. Being anti-Catholic would be anti-people, and that's not what we do." Now, I don't know if the Los Angeles Dodgers has a single fucking gay person on their staff, because they announced last week that they were disinviting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, not giving them this award, and they were no longer going to be part of the lineup for Pride Night.
That's even bigger, knowing I did not realize the award part to like not only be like, oh, you're no longer invited, but also we were going to honor you with a community award that you earned from all the good work you do, to go from that to be like, oh no, you no longer get this award. Like they thought they were great.
Yep.
A second ago.
Yep. So Senator Marco Rubio got involved. See, he could be another nominee.
Second nominee.
For King Dickbag Fuckface Asshole, also from Florida.
Rubio, Ron.
Ron Rubio.
I'm just noticing a pattern.
He said, quote, "Do you believe that the Los Angeles Dodgers are being inclusive and welcoming to everyone by giving an award to a group of gay and transgender drag performers that intentionally mocks and degrades Christians?" Thing is, you don't fucking know. You don't fucking understand. And the LA Dodgers fucking caved to this like brouhaha. So then the American Civil Liberties Union blasted the Dodgers on Twitter, saying that they would pull out of Pride Night if the club did not reverse course. LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath vowed to do the same. LA City Council member Eunice Hernandez, whose district includes Dodger Stadium, condemned the move. And then on Thursday, the LA LGBT Center issued an ultimatum: readmit the sisters or cancel Pride Night altogether. The Dodgers organization did not respond as quickly as they would have liked. So then the LA LGBT Center tweeted on Thursday night, this: "As a longstanding partner of the LA Dodgers, we are very disappointed in their decision to rescind their invitation to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to be honored at the 10th annual LGBTQ+ Pride Night. As a result, and in solidarity with our community, LA Pride will not be participating in this year's Dodgers Pride Night event. Pride is a fight for equality and inclusion for the entire LGBTQ+ community, and we're not going to stop now. Let's make this year's Pride celebration louder than ever." I think that's fucking magical.
Yeah.
And of course, now there are all of these conversations about like all they really wanted was our money and our ticket sales and for us to buy a bunch of beer at the game. They don't actually give a fuck about gay rights, because if they did, they would know that this is not a good look and not a good move.
Yeah. I think it's the year, like, I'm coming around a little bit on the value of corporate pride. I think, like someone mentioned, like I live in a small city, and when Target puts up its fucking rainbow gear, it makes me happy because I get to see it for the first time. So if they're doing it for money, okay, but also I get to see it.
Yep. God, what's her name?
Rachel?
Yes.
From the Queer Jews episode?
Right.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, there is value in doing it, but also I think I love this because it's not just do that and get our money. Like, let's hold you accountable. And especially right now, you have to include trans people. You have to include drag queens. That part is not negotiable.
Yep.
We don't get to include part of our community. And because we are the more gay, being gay white men, we are more accepted in the community. And we have to say, no, we will not participate in this if you don't include trans people.
Yep, absolutely. Also, I just want to point out, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence do not consider themselves drag queens. Labeling them as drag queens is just flat fucking wrong. And oh god, where'd the
it does fall under this like attack on anyone doing anything gender non-conforming these days.
But apparently, like, it's fine to, like, everybody, fucking straight people loved Tootsie and fucking loved Mrs. Doubtfire, but apparently
some like it hot.
So a dude with a beard dresses up like a nun and like raises money for AIDS, and they're the problem.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You fucking dickbag asshole fuckfaces. Kyle, god damn it. Now I'm pissed off. I'm so fucking pissed off. I'm not even going to enjoy the rest of this episode.
Just do this episode angry.
Yeah, no, I'm over it now. I'm good now.
I wrote down our nominees for dickbag fuckface assholes are Ron, Rubio, and America. Those are the three we got so far, Mike.
Amerigo Vespucci?
Yes.
I'm very interested to see where this goes, because the campaign to get them to reverse that decision is escalating, and it is this weird mixture of things that I just am fascinated by. What do you think is going to happen? Are they going to will the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence appear at next week's Pride Night event?
I'm going to be surprisingly optimistic for me. I'm going to say yes. They're going to reverse their decision. They're going to invite them, be like, whoopsies, because they want to do a Pride Night. What do you think?
I think I don't know. I'm on the fence.
You have to decide yes or no. What do you say?
I'm gonna say no. I think when you made a decision like that, you have to double down, and you risk alienating your non-queer audience.
Yeah, which is their i.e. their audience,
most of the audience.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I could see that.
We'll see. We'll see. That's the news.
That's the news. Speaking of people we'll see about. We'll see how we feel about these people. No, that's mean. I support and love these new Patreon members. First, Kobe Gordon. Kobe is spelled with a K. I feel like that would be important to Kobe. Yep.
Like Kobe Bryant? Like Kobe Beef?
K-O-B-I-E. No, sorry. Kobe.
Kobe. Okay, go ahead.
Gordon Meyer.
Gordon Meyer?
Brian.
Sounds like
what did I say? I was reading the
something.
wrong thing. Brian Meyer? Meyer.
Mar?
Maybe.
Great. Hi, Brian.
Naresul? No, there's an accent. Naresule.
Nailed it.
Doing so good. And Brad Shreve. That one I know we had him on. Listen to Brad Shreve's Spotlight. But thanks, Brad. I got at least one name right this week. Thank you so much to all our new Patreon members. If you want to get episodes a day early and ad-free, they come out every Wednesday for Patreon members. And then also at different levels, you get bonus episodes, content, merch, good shit. Go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
And half off your live show tickets that you're going to buy right now, you fucker. If you don't want to be number 4 on our list of dickbag fuckface asshole nominees, buy your tickets now.
Yes, absolutely.
GayishPodcast.com/live.
Do you want to talk about New York?
Let's talk about New York City, Kyle.
Why did you say it with a bit of sigh in your voice?
Okay, partially it's because we are going to be live in New York City at The Spot in Hell's Kitchen next weekend.
Yeah.
Well, weekend after next. In like 8 days after this posts or whatever. I didn't realize until right this very second talking to you about it, we might shit on New York and fuck something up real bad and be hated.
Show up and be like,
say,
hey,
here we are.
Well, it's better than like, at least we're not doing it in front of them. Like that's
true.
My to sit in front of people. I'm gonna try to talk about. We know our topic. We're not gonna reveal it.
Yeah,
usual.
I almost just said it. God, keep me under control, Kyle.
Keep that shit in. Keep it cool. But I'm gonna talk about shit that happened in New York, and New York people might be like, I know New York more than you. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm glad at least we're doing it a couple episodes out before our show. So, I'm gonna start.
Yeah, why don't you start, Kyle?
By telling you about how gay New York is.
How gay is New York?
How gay is New York? That was the question I asked myself late one night.
Yeah.
As I was prepping for this.
Yeah.
And
did you make up some answers?
And I just guessed that sure. My answer was 7.
Great.
It's 7 gay.
7 gays.
Yep. No, I actually looked at data. The Williams Institute, which I've mentioned before, and I actually looked up Serena Williams Institute that studies New York. It's a really weird system she has set up.
Great.
Venus loves LA. I don't know. Coast v. Coast. No. Williams Institute is a public policy research institute based in UCLA School of Law. Focused on sexual orientation and gender identity issues. They're ones that always show up with great data. So they're like a reputable source. So
great.
They released a brief called LGBT Adults in Large U.S. Metropolitan Areas in March 2021. Their data was collected from 2012 to 2017, and they used data from the Gallup Daily Tracking Survey, where people would ask about people's identities. And so this is in that survey, how many people, and then they figured out the math percentage of people that identify as gay.
Great. Okay.
Or LGBT, sorry. So I have it based on pure like number of people and percentage of gays.
Okay.
So number 1, gayest city in terms of size, actual size, the raw size.
New York City.
New York City.
Because it's like the biggest city in the United States by such a wide margin. Any like normal statistical thing, it's going to be the most.
It's going to be New York for sure. And these are also metro areas, so this includes New York, Newark, Jersey City, like that broader metro area. All of these are the bigger metro area. So yep, New York, and yeah, they estimate 700,000 gays there, like LGBT people. I keep saying gays instead.
It's fine.
And the next one is
Los Angeles.
Yep.
Great.
LA is number 2. So New York
We
City.
see you, LA.
Hey, you're there too.
How many of you could fit into Dodger Stadium?
All 520,000 of you. So it's New York 700, LA 520,000. That is quite a bit.
Creeping up there. Yeah.
But like, you're right that New York is like far and away. So by one measure, it's the gayest place. Just going down the list. Do you have guesses for 3, 4, and 5?
Chicago,
That's
Houston.
3. No Houston.
Or Dallas? No, I don't know. Atlanta. I thought maybe Atlanta.
No Atlanta. 3 is Chicago. 4 is San Francisco, and 5 is Miami.
Fucking San Francisco.
Fucking San Francisco. I looked at where Houston was because that's where I'm from. That is number 11.
You basically just named our tour stops.
I did. Yep. And number 12 is Seattle.
That's here.
That's where we live.
Yes.
Which is why I threw that in. Okay, so by percentage, though, this I think is the more accurate way to look at things. The percentage. It's not just about volume of gays. It's about the proportion of them. And the highest number 1 based on percentage is
Salt Lake City, Utah.
No.
I've heard that before, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's true.
Oh.
Apparently it's not true.
Well, according to this one, at least, number 1 is San Francisco with 6.7%.
Well, you got to be a stereotype of yourself, San Francisco.
San Francisco is one of 2 cities that shows up in the top 5 list for both of these. So
Great.
San Francisco is pretty fucking gay.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Portland. Number 3.
Portland, Oregon?
I presumed.
Okay.
It has to be.
Because there's 2 of them.
There is. It's not going to be the other one.
Okay.
There's no way.
It's in Maine.
It's not going to be that.
Okay, great.
There's no way it's that one.
I mean, I've been to Portland. I get it.
Yeah, that one's super duper gay.
Yeah.
Austin is number 3.
No. All right. Okay.
I'm reading you the data, Mike. You can't say no to data.
I think that Austin, I believe that actually, for the same reason that I keep saying Atlanta over and over again, is it has a reputation as being like where all of the fun people in Texas go to get away from the rest of Texas.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
like,
That's like, I keep saying, like, if I ever move back to Texas, that's the one place I would be comfortable living.
Yeah.
That's the only place I'd be comfortable living.
Great.
Number 4 is Seattle.
Yay!
That's us.
That checks out.
Number-
I mean, it's 100% in this room.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't narrow it down to just this studio where we're recording. Otherwise, we would have been number 1 at 100% gays. And number 5 is LA.
Oh, okay.
So nowhere on that list did New York appear.
Yeah.
So New York is number 21
Wow.
on the list with 4.5%.
Is it all of the like finance bros?
That's what I was thinking. Like Austin, you were saying like queer people and fun people are like, I should move there. Whereas New York, like a lot of people are like, I want to move to New York. So I wondered if that was it. It has a bigger, not San Francisco. That's like, oh, I can defo be gay there. You know, like Portland is like.
In the immortal words of Liza Minnelli, if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere.
Sure.
I also don't think that she's the one that wrote that song. She
just sang it.
Sang it.
I always hate when you like we give characters on TV show the credit. Like, no, a writer wrote that. You don't know which. Anyway, so
start spreading the news.
Start spreading your legs. New York is number 1 gay or number 21 gay. So I mean, percentage wise, not as gay as I thought.
Get your shit together, New York. No.
Yeah, get gay. No. You're right. Double the people need to come out. No, not double, but at least. We need to increase conversion therapy. And by that, I mean converting people to gay.
Oh my God, Kyle, before somebody flips the fuck out at us in the hate mail section.
Oh, sure.
It was Liza Minnelli.
Oh.
The theme from New York, New York is the theme song from the Martin Scorsese film New York, New York, 1977. It was written for and performed in the film by Liza Minnelli.
Oh, no way.
I thought...
good for her.
Because Sinatra also had a hit with it, didn't he? Yeah, in 79, Sinatra recorded it, but and it became associated with him, but he stole it from Liza Minnelli. Good thing he's dead.
Yeah. Fuck you, dead guy.
All right. Anyway, you know what song I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's one of those songs like every fucking person in the world knows it or better.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to talk to you about the history of gay people in New York, Kyle.
Okay. Wow. I'm gonna buckle in and shut the fuck up. This is gonna be long.
All right. Thank you. I have in the Gayish library this book, and I'm so fucking excited to read the rest of it. But this book is Gay New York, Gender, Urban Culture, and the Making of the Gay Male World by George Chauncey.
Yeah. I'm glad you physically picked it up and showed it to me. That helps on this podcast.
I can't help it, Kyle. I would do this if the microphone weren't here.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be me.
Okay.
I don't know.
Have you tried being better?
This book was written in 1994. So it is almost 30 years old.
Wow.
And it is a treasure trove of a bunch of shit about gay culture, not just in New York, but in general, that I'm fascinated. I'm going to read the whole thing. I almost didn't get the news done today because I was reading this book instead of... Anyway, I fucking love it. I'm going to start with a quote. Quote, and this is not... It's in Chauncey's book, but it's not Chauncey. It's not a quote of him. It's a quote in the book.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Quote. These men act effeminately. Most of them are painted and powdered. They are called Princess This and Lady So-and-so and the Duchess of Marlborough and get up and sing as women and dance, ape the female character, call each other sisters, and take people out for immoral purposes. I have had these propositions made to me and made repeatedly. That was a visitor that was an investigator visiting Columbia Hall, also known as Paresis Hall, at 5th and Bowery in New York City in what year?
1965.
1899.
Damn.
So Columbia Hall, or Paresis Hall, was known as, quote, the principal resort in New York for degenerates. And
that would show. I did a little bit of, I'll tell you a little bit of history too, but degenerates showed up a lot.
Yeah. Also, I was very surprised at how early the word fairy was associated with gay men, specifically in New York City.
Oh.
But the thing is, 1899, there was like, that's a known place for the gays, like an entire fucking hall, an entire neighborhood. And that bucks a whole bunch of things that we think about Stonewall, which I'm going to talk about Stonewall later. But it's funny, in the 1870s, there's a guide for Latin American businessmen, and it was published that showed different kinds of people that you'd run across in Soho.
Huh.
Specifically, there's a cartoon that I'll show you, and then we'll post it to social media or whatever. And it shows a dude at the intersection of Broadway and Houston, and includes in the upper right hand corner a fairy. He's wearing a tiny ass hat. He's delicately holding a cane. Has a very distinctive limp wrist.
Oh, look at that wrist! It's so fucking gay.
But the thing is, that was a fairy. And that's what they were called in 1870.
Wow.
And that's a brochure like showing Latin American businessmen what to look out for in that neighborhood, Broadway and Houston Street.
Look at that faggot.
Right.
I'm reminded of the phrase, would he dial a phone with a pencil?
Dial a phone with a pencil.
That
Yes.
wrist would definitely use a pencil to dial a phone.
Absolutely. It's really interesting to me, I think, that the idea that gay is a new thing, that we sprung out of the ground at Stonewall and didn't exist. And we've talked about that on the show a bajillion times, but nowhere is that more apparent and obvious than in New York City. Some of that is just a function of the size of the city. Like we were saying earlier, talking about statistics, like you get any city of sufficient size and that's where the shit happens. And that's absolutely true when it comes to gay culture. So the gayborhood, the original gayborhood in New York City was, is a place called Bowery. And that has largely not, it's the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And they don't really call it that anymore, although there's Bowery Street. It's the Lower East Side what it gets called, apparently. If I'm wrong, at me. I would like to know. But the thing is, the gayborhood, the original gayborhood in New York City was, is a place called Bowery. And that has largely not, it's the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And they don't really call it that anymore, although there's Bowery Street. It's the Lower East Side. What it gets called, apparently. If I'm wrong, at me. I would like to know. And then, but by the 1920s, there were 3 gay villages in New York City. There was the Village, Greenwich Village. There was Harlem and Times Square. All 3 were considered havens for homosexuals. There were bars that catered to them. They had these big balls for entering gay society. And I'm going to talk more in the section about Stonewall, about like myths about what life was like before Stonewall. But it's there's this huge history of pretty what we would consider normal gay life way fucking back in the day, right? 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, all happening there in New York City. And there's a bunch of theories about like what happened with all of that history, because it has been sort of erased. And he points out, George Chauncey points out, that really it was prohibition that really associated drinking culture with gay people as being like a thing that we need to stop them from hanging out. That's when you see all of these laws start to pop up about you can't have gay bars. That allows the mafia to then take over and start serving gay people. They wanted our money. The Great Depression also had a big impact, but then also the Lavender Scare. So World War II ends, a bunch of gays come back from being in the military, settle in a few places, New York City and San Francisco being 2 really big examples of that. And then there is a backlash against that leads to McCarthyism and the Lavender Scare in the 50s. And that really demonizes gay people, and they become more explicitly the target of legal action and things like raids and like ruining people's lives, etc. But New York City really was the sort of battleground for that. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll pause there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about one of the battlegrounds, like in New York, being bars. So I'm going to talk about a really specific example of that. A protest coming up, and that's the gay sit-ins that happened in New York. Sit-ins. That pulls from the civil rights movement.
Great.
Using inspiration from that to protest. So most of this is from a history.com article by Thaddeus Morgan, came out in 2018. The subtitle for the article is, in 1966, 3 men walked into a bar, stated they were gay, and ordered drinks. When they were denied service, a movement began.
Wow. Okay.
And so if this hadn't happened, Stonewall might not have happened. And I'll get there. So, like you said, gays were regularly refused service at bars. The New York State Liquor Authority based service requirements on what was called orderly conduct.
Yeah.
And gays, being gay, was considered disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
So if you...
God, there's such a tool that gets used by oppressors all the time, is just label something again, like say that it's decency, or say that it's normalcy, or say that it's like, whatever vague fucking word you want to use, and then you can totally discriminate against people on the basis of torturing that word to mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yep. See the news section that you just did.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Big fuckface assholes.
Right.
I told you I was going to be mad the whole episode.
That's true. Number 1, Ron.
Fucking Ron.
So, and that could include even just, I wrote down, intimate encounters between 2 men was considered disorderly. Anything that made you look gay.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
This is partially because a lot of the things that you talked about with Prohibition, and there was also specifically in New York, Mayor Robert F. Wagner Jr., we hate him. The World's Fair was in 1964, so he wanted to clean up New York City for the visitors, and that meant getting rid of gays, shutting down gay establishments, increasing the police raids on gay bars.
Yeah.
And so the sip-in was spring of 1966. And the members there were 3 people. Dick, of course, one of the first guys that did a sip-in was named Dick.
Yeah.
Dick Leish was the leader of the New York chapter of the Mattachine Society.
Great. We know them.
Yep. And 2 other members, which in the history.com article, it said that was Craig Rodwell. Oh, Jesus Christ, Craig. And Randy Wicker. Wikipedia said Craig Rodwell, and John Timmons. I guess I believe history.com as a more reputable source, so I don't know. But it's weird that, like, a thing happened. It was a person. It was one person. It was one of them.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's written down as two different people. Like, how do we not? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they drew from the civil rights movement, so they went bar to bar looking for a place that would deny them service.
Great.
So the first
Good work, gays.
Yep. Yeah. Because they wanted to specifically challenge this rule. So they went to one bar that when reporters showed up, the bar closed down.
I mean, it was just an excuse to get fucked up. Like, it's a bar crawl, y'all.
Give me shots. Yeah, they did 3 shots at each bar, and we're like, it was Craig Rodwell's birthday. It was really, yeah. No, so the first one, when they saw reporters, closed down. They just, instead of not serving them, they just closed. The next 2 served them, even though they said they were gay. The third one was Julius's, which was apparently a sure bet to get rejected because just a few days earlier it had been raided. So they were on particularly high alert. Apparently there is a sign in the window. Like, they showed signs in windows. I guess when this happened, this is a raided premises is what it said. And it says NYPD. Like, I don't know. Maybe I didn't read about that. Maybe they just like fucking hung signs up after they raided it.
So, okay, more evidence this was just a birthday party bar crawl then, because, like, you should have started there.
That's true. I don't know what, I don't know why. I don't know their thinking process. And they're like, we want to get fucked up before we do this thing. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently Julius was raided and a clergyman was arrested for soliciting sex. That's what I wrote down. Who knows what's actually true? Then maybe you can invent charges when you raid shit. So after they were denied service, that's when the news coverage, the New York Times and the Village Voice, which Village Voice is like the prominent gay newspaper, like maybe historically the most famous gay newspaper of all time.
Although apparently they're not doing it anymore.
I heard that. Yeah, I thought it went out. Anyway, the New York Times, the headline for the article was 3 deviates invite exclusion by bars.
Sure.
Feels a little judgy. If I have to pinpoint one piece of criticism, feels a little judgy.
Deviants.
Yeah. Deviates.
Oh, deviates.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
New York Times? Probably at that time.
Probably, yeah. Okay. All right.
The Commission on Human Rights got involved. They maybe went to court. I wasn't clear on that part. But the State Liquor Authority, as a result of this, decided that they no longer viewed being gay as disorderly. And apparently there was an immediate change after that. Like spring of 66, all of a sudden things changed for gay people.
Huh.
There were less police rates.
That's before Stonewall.
That's before Stonewall.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. And that's part of why. So as a result of this, and quite immediately, things got better for them. There were less police raids. Bars were less likely to lose their license for serving gay people. And because of that progress that gay people made during 66, they started then to expect that progress. If they were still in the times where they were getting raided all the time, maybe Stonewall wouldn't have stood out as much. But because they had made this forward progress, then when Stonewall happened, they're like, fuck you, no, we're not doing this. And there are a lot of other things that happened that caused Stonewall to happen. But this is one of those contributing factors. Gay people were fucking over it.
That reminds me of all these companies that are trying to force their workers back into the office. Like the pandemic, I worked from home and it was fine. Fuck you.
You know how you were okay with me working from home when it was your only option?
Yeah.
Look, I can keep doing it. Yeah. So nowadays, Julius's claims, its website claims that it's New York's oldest gay bar and Greenwich Village's oldest bar. And it holds a monthly party called Mattachine. So when I went to the website, it had like the promotion for the Mattachine event.
Is it going to be happening when we're in town?
That's a great question, Mike.
We should go.
We should go if it's happening.
Yeah. We should also run down to Christopher Street and go to the Stonewall Inn.
We should.
I asked them if we could do our show there, and they did not respond to me.
They were busy rioting.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we should. I have not been to Stonewall. We should definitely go there while we're there.
I went there with my ex. It was neat.
Oh,
it felt historic because it is.
It should be. Yeah, it should have. That's good. Yeah. So those are the sip-ins.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for that birthday party pub crawl that turned into a riot.
Turned litigious, like most good booze crawls.
Well, so you talk about that leading up to Stonewall, and this book by Chauncey. He has a lot of things to say about the myths of gay stuff before Stonewall. And he wants to explore a little bit like where this narrative, this idea, it's not even a narrative, just this idea comes from that like we didn't exist before Stonewall.
Yeah.
And he touches on three myths. I wrote in my notes. We think of Stonewall as being the start, but for New York, it's barely the middle.
Huh. Interesting.
So the first is the myth of isolation, which he says is the myth that we have that anti-gay hostility, again, before Stonewall, anti-gay hostility prevented the development of an extensive gay subculture and forced gay men to lead solitary lives. This myth is basically gay men weren't gathering together, so there was no there for developing culture. And that's absolutely not true. Like I said before, Bowery and by the 1920s, Greenwich Village, Harlem, Times Square, there were in New York, big pockets of gays hanging out all together. They had a culture. They had their own manner of dress and a way of speaking. And a lot of that has been lost for reasons that I'm going to go into in a little bit. But like, that's just not true. So if you have it in your head that like gay history doesn't exist because we didn't have a community, we absolutely did in several places in New York City. Also talking about like the different ways that they talked. Coming out did not mean out of the closet. That's a relatively new connotation of it. In New York slang in the 20s, it was about code switching more than anything. You would come out into gay society at a big ball. They would throw these big dances in rent ballrooms, and they would have these ceremonies, and like there were even certificates. I saw there's a certificate in here of like welcome to the gay world. Oh, and like a graduation diploma for
cute.
Coming out. Yeah.
Why don't we have those today?
We absolutely should.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently in the 1930s that it was totally a thing. But so they didn't say come out of the closet. They said come out into society. But one thing that they did say about like your status of outness was this whole thing about, again, code switching. So you would wear your hair up. That's what they would say. And that meant to like butch it up and be straight so that you could pass in straight society. And then you would let your hair down. And that's sort of, we know that phrase for other reasons, but to gays in New York in the 20s, that meant to let yourself be as gay as you want to. And then
you're right, that is code switching. That's crazy that we just talked about that.
And also slang in 20s gay New York was to signal to other men that you were gay in public was to drop hairpins. So you would say like, Kyle, I was on the bus the other day and I was totally dropping hairpins, and that was hair up, hair down. Dropping hairpins was to subtly hint to somebody that you were gay.
Interesting.
Anyway, so that's the myth of isolation. The second is the myth of invisibility, and that's the idea that even if a gay world did exist, it was kept invisible and thus remained difficult for isolated gay men to find. Not true in New York. Gay men were out and visible. They were known in the newspapers for wearing red ties and having bleached hair. And
wow, bleached as a gay stereotype existed long before it did these modern times.
That was around 1918.
Damn.
And in fact, one New Yorker said in an interview in the New York Times in 1918, quote, "Our streets and beaches are overrun by fairies." We were not invisible, at least not in New York. That's just a myth.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of visibility then creates a backlash, which then creates our push for rights. Like that's the myth that I believe that is not true. That's interesting that is not the process that it went through.
Yep. Last is the myth of internalization. This is the internalized homophobia internalization. The myth of internalization is that gay men, this quote, "gay men uncritically internalize the dominant culture's view of them as sick, perverted, and immoral, and that their self-hatred led them to accept the policing of their lives rather than resist it. At least in New York, absolutely untrue. As early as the 1890s, there were gay New Yorkers who wrote articles and books, sent letters to the New York Times, published their own newspapers in the gayborhoods, and urged jurists and doctors to change their views. They were actively fighting against the systems of oppression that were in place in those communities. And just the idea that gays just felt bad and hid in their shame, absolutely not true, at least not in New York, again, as early as 1890 something.
1890, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So New York was just like, has been, always will be, for a long-ass time, gay.
If you want to hear more about shame, listen to our bonus Patreon episode about shame, where we talk about internalized homophobia.
He also goes into this whole thing about that there's this narrative that we especially fight against today, and we've talked about it a lot on the show, that gay culture is white middle-class culture, right? And the narrative, the theory, the myth is that is the only group that has the resources to make it happen. That the idea is that, like, poor people are too busy working too hard to, like, go out and get fucked up and do coke or what. I don't know. It kind of makes sense though, right?
Yeah.
That like, and largely that is our view.
Yeah.
Not in New York, not historically speaking, but a lot of this history has been lost because that's what we look for. We look for middle-class white gay culture, which in New York didn't really exist. A lot of this was working class. It was African-American folks. It was Italian and Irish folks, which were very much discriminated against in the time periods that we're talking about because of the backlash against huge swaths of immigration that were happening. But research up until he published this book was focused on the New York Times articles and mainstream white middle-class sources instead of, he found a whole bunch of stuff in African-American press, especially for the Harlem gayborhood. Tabloids. It was looking more at working class culture and looking at pop culture instead of just like medical and legal documents. And he points out there's a reason that all of these gayborhoods that existed in New York in the 1890s, 1920s, those were all also historically black, Irish, and Italian neighborhoods, because it was not middle-class whites. It was those places where gay culture could take root. And then can't leave this section here without pointing out white middle-class culture, even Stonewall for a long time totally erased the involvement of trans women of color, right?
Yeah. There was like a actual white statue, a physical white statue that was placed outside of like two white people or something that commemorated Stonewall instead of black people, black trans people, sex workers, like all the people that went to Stonewall.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just not true. It's just not true. That's us whitewashing.
Yeah. It's crazy how much who is telling you this story, who is looking back on it, and where are they looking. I like that, like, oh yeah, I'm going to look at the New York Times. Like, well, there's far more there. Yeah,
absolutely. There really is. I love this book. I'm going to read it more. And I wish I had more like modern things to say about New York. It's just, I've been so steeped in the history stuff that, I think it's important though to also recognize New York as being like the forefront of the HIV/AIDS crisis, and a lot of like television and media is produced in New York, and there's a lot of involvement in of gays in those industries. Broadway, of course, and musicals and other kinds of theater are this huge draw. New York is just, it's the place, man.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Statue of Liberty for Patreon, Kyle.
Is there a gay angle to this?
A gangle?
A gangle?
There,
as we never call it.
There is a gangle. There's an excellent chance that the Statue of Liberty is a drag queen.
New York! something dreams they can eat. Pizza Hut. Then the last thing I want to tell you.
Tell me.
These are current New York organizations, New York-based organizations that support LGBT people. This list is from secretnyc.co. Couldn't afford that com.
The M, yeah.
Yeah, give me that com. The center is New York City's LGBTQ community center that offers advocacy for New York health, wellness programs, arts, education, cultural programs, recovery, parenthood, family support, basically supporting New York City's LGBT center in any way imaginable.
Awesome.
Another local one is Audre Lorde Project, which is a community organizing for LGBT people of color in the New York City area. They work for community wellness and progressive social and economic justice. One of the ones that I've heard of, we actually put this on our help and resources page, is SAGE. This is a national organization, services and advocacy for LGBTQ elders. So they, and I don't see too many of these, so that to me is a really important one to know about, that advocates for LGBT elders. And they have a hotline. So if you want the hotline, it's 877-360-LGBT or 877-360-5428. Hotline if you need resources, help, whatever it is going on. That's a support system.
I don't know if I trust them.
Why?
They don't know how letters work. Their name is Sage, but this should be Salgebati.
Everything used to be
Gay,
lesbian, bisexual, and that's like, you can tell in organizations when they still have GLBT. It sounds weird to say these days, but like I started an organization in my college that was the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. Like that's just the order we did it in.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah. SAGE. I do not fault SAGE. I personally love our LGBT elders, unlike Mike.
You know.
The
because I'm closer to being one, I think.
well, it's kind of cool. Like, we need more resources for LGBT elders as we have more LGBT elders these days, as people are living longer, happier, healthier lives, like, and not dying of AIDS.
Right. Yeah. Oh, there's this whole thing about like that white middle class gays sort of took over being the image of the culture because they were the ones that had health care and lived.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, I can understand. I can see that. Did I write down? I wish I would have, it would have been a smooth transition. I didn't include, there's one that like is the biggest LGBT provider of healthcare in the nation or something. I didn't write the name down. I don't know. You'll have to find it yourself. That's a little mystery for you to solve yourself, dear listener. There's the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, which is a legal aid organization. I've heard of this before and I couldn't pinpoint it. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Legal aid organization that serves low-income people and people of color who are trans, intersex, and gender nonconforming. This is particularly of importance these days. They provide social, health, and legal services. They have programs that support immigrants and prisoners' rights. There's a prisoner pen pal program. Another one is Immigration Equity, which is the nation's leading LGBT and HIV positive immigration rights organization. And it's mostly through like legal and policy that they work.
Isn't Lambda Legal based in New York?
Are they? I didn't see them on like this list or whatever, but that would be a good one to include if that's true.
Yes, they are based in New York.
Ooh, they're the like law. Whenever I see like ACLU and Lambda Legal sue for something, like I see them show up a lot. They do a lot of great work.
Yeah.
And ACT UP, which I did not realize
Fight
was
AIDS.
still going. Like I just think of that as, back in the 90s. As
Actual reality. ACT UP. Fight AIDS. That's from Rent.
Oh, okay. I was trying to make it make sense.
No.
It is.
I took my medicine this morning, Kyle. I just want you to know that. But then I had like 4 cups of coffee, which I think undoes my meds.
Never take coffee right after medication. No, I'm thinking of fiber. Isn't that true?
I mean, if I shit myself, I'll let you know.
Please don't.
No,
no. I don't think I need to know that information. ACT UP, AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power. I also did not know that was an acronym. I mean, I knew it was in all caps, but I thought that was just because we were so angry. And that is an historic organization that provides direct action to end the AIDS crisis. They were formed in response to the government neglect, the lack of response in the medical community, social neglect during the AIDS crisis during the 80s and 90s in particular. So, yeah, that organization still exists. So a lot of really important LGBT organizations exist to this day in New York that fight for our rights. So
Yeah.
New York continues to be a beacon of hope, help, and heart.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah.
Good work.
Thanks.
You're welcome, New York. You can have that one
You
for
can
free.
have that one. No.
Oh, we're going to talk about like our like personal experiences. You've been to New York.
I've been to New York
You have a really good friend that lives
quite
there.
a few times. Yep. Hi, Tessa. You don't listen. That's okay.
She's busy.
She's busy. She has babies.
Yeah.
At least 2 that I know of.
Are either of them yours?
If they were, it would have been through one of those hot tub sperm babies.
Mm-hmm.
When I originally got my offer from, I could have selected Seattle, Chicago, or New York.
Oh.
And I picked Seattle because my friend Tessa, who now lives in New York, was in Seattle. That was a big reason. It was like, oh, someone I know is already going to be there.
Uh-huh.
So, and then she left me and then moved away to New York.
Wow.
Jesus, Tessa, I didn't even think about that.
And then you didn't follow her.
I didn't follow her. Yeah. So I had the option. I always wanted to live in New York. And there's still part of me that I don't think I could do a move city thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have kind of settled here.
Yeah.
So there's part of me that kind of wonders what would have happened or what I don't know. I could have, my life would have been totally different if I had picked that option.
Yeah. You wouldn't be here right now.
Nope. We wouldn't be doing this.
Probably.
I doubt it. And it was just so interesting. Like our colleagues that worked in the New York office, they were like, we made the same income and they were barely getting by.
Yeah.
It was so interesting how different that, like, the cost is so much higher.
Yeah. I think Seattle's closing the gap.
I think we're working on it. If rent prices are any indication, we're trying to fill that gap with San Francisco too. We're working on it.
Yep.
And I also talked about my dream of one day living in New York with the first guy I dated, like really like long term dating. Yeah. And when we broke up, he moved to New York.
Oh, interesting.
That was I have said before, I tend to cut off exes.
Mm-hmm. He did that for you.
So there was a benefit. I'm not going to run into him.
Yeah.
I saw my latest ex.
Oh, did you?
Walking down the street.
Oh, did you duck down an alley?
No, I kind of did a weird smile and kept going.
Interesting.
Didn't say anything.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
Stone Cold Bitch.
That's what they call me.
Yeah.
That's my wrestler name. Stone Cold Bitch. Oh yeah. I'll stone you out.
Stone you out? Is that what you said?
It is what I said. Okay. That is correct. That is what I said. But there's part of it that was like a
slap in the face.
We had talked about it together. Like he would always dream to go to New York too. And so when he moved, I was like, ooh, that was a lot that was part of like trying to process moving on. Like it was that he did the thing that we had talked about doing together. It was some of the things he left behind in our apartment.
Yeah. Like
a note that I had written him that was like just sitting there on the counter. That was hard, but so I have some weird mixed feelings like personally about New York, but I love being there and visiting there. I love big cities. Like New York might be my favorite city in the world. And I've, the other ones are the big cities.
Have you done gay stuff in New York? You said you haven't been to the Stonewall, but like, have you done?
No, I have not been to like gay bars and stuff.
Let's fucking fix that.
Okay. Yeah. Let's fucking do that.
Great.
Hell's Kitchen.
Kitchen.
Place to be.
The bacon's an oven something.
We're both getting some really good ones in, Mike. The bacon something oven.
Oh my God.
How do you feel? What's your personal experience with New York?
I've only been a handful of times. The first time I ever went was with my ex-wife, and we saw Wicked on Broadway. And that was the Idina Menzel and Christian Chenoweth days.
No.
Got really great tickets too. It was amazing.
And you were straight then.
And I was straight then.
Wow.
It's magical. Let's see. And then my ex-husband and I went.
Wow, you covered that with both exes.
And that's when we went to Stonewall. And then I was just there for work in October. And I also, except for going to Stonewall for that experience, haven't done any gay stuff.
You didn't go gay when you went recently?
No,
Huh.
no. I instead we went and sang karaoke, which is not gay,
Okay.
but
It could be gayer.
bunch of straight coworkers, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
so could have been gayer.
Yeah.
And it was just such a quick trip. I was only there one night. But yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to like I want to gay it up this trip, and not just because we're doing our show at the spot in Hell's Kitchen.
Gayishpodcast.com/live.
June 4th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets, you fuck faces.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I want to do some gay stuff while we're there. And we're there 2 nights, so we should have
Hopefully.
opportunity.
Unless I might just be a nervous wreck and be in the hotel the whole time because I like prepping and just being nervous and taking prep.
Great.
Just downing prep after prep.
Oh, well, I don't have that problem. So I will invite you.
You will be, yes. I have the option of joining you on New York gay outing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're staying in Times Square, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Did we do it?
Yeah. We talked about New York. Your stuff is really interesting. I really liked that Gay New York book.
Yeah. I just love it.
Yeah.
I'm so super excited to read about it too, because he keeps talking about like all of this stuff that's like super important to the whole movement came out of New York.
Yeah.
And so it's like, in a way, the cradle of gayness in the United States. And so let's go visit there and fuck it up.
We didn't talk about Stonewall at all. I mean, we did a tiny bit. Should we? Well, we've talked about it on past episodes, like at the very beginning of the show. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then we did stuff.
Okay. You want to take a break?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest. But first, hey, dirty fuckers.
Beautiful people.
I have a couple of announcements.
Tour.
The tour. We're going on a tour, y'all. We're going to be in New York City next weekend.
Yeah. If you're listening to this in real time.
Yeah.
We will be, do you want me to read them?
Yeah, do it.
We will be in New York on June 4th. It is at 7 p.m. at the spot. There's still tickets. Go to gayishpodcast.com/live for these tickets and all your tickets. But we will also be in Seattle, June 23rd. That's a free show with Derek and Romaine. Chicago on July 29th. San Francisco on August 13th. Los Angeles on September 10th. And Houston on October 15th. Go get your tickets for all of those places. Except for Seattle, which is free. You get a drink with your ticket. So it's fun and great.
Yeah, it's basically free. It just comes with like you're going to drink anyway.
You're going to drink anyway. So let's just get you started, you know?
Our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on Instagram at Gayish Podcast, and we also have a Facebook group, a Discord, Spaces, and you can find all that info at gayishpodcast.com/contact.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109. Really quickly before we go into the Gayest and Straightest, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to a local/not local drag event that's happening. So on July 1st, Saturday, July 1st at 5 p.m. at the Snoqualmie Snow Valley Eagles, there is a drag show being put on by Calypso Frost, friend of the show. And it would be really great to support them because it's outside of the city limits of Seattle, and drag is under fire everywhere, everybody. And if you want to support drag, especially support it where it needs the most support.
Yeah. Plus, go to drag show. It's fucking amazing. It's always the best time you'll have.
Yep. Doors are at 5. Show is at 6. It will be a $10 cover for non-members, $5 for Eagles members, which I don't know how the Eagles in Snoqualmie, Washington rolls, but back home, the Eagles Club, like none of those people have seen a drag show before, so it's going to be interesting. Anyway, go check them out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You ready to do our Gayest and Straightest?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go.
Okay.
My gayest is I wore some cute dress shoes for an interview, and they cut up the back of my feet.
Yeah.
Like they were like bleeding. I have scabs.
Yeah.
So injuring myself on cute dress shoes.
Yeah.
My straightest is I injured myself a different way. I dropped a piece of plywood that I was using to set up my AC in my place. So dropping that on my shin.
That's not great.
Cut myself there.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I
you sure?
just, hurting myself on accident and hurting them in gay and straight ways. So
Yeah.
that's fun.
Ouch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. You live and you learn. So says Miss Morissette.
Yeah. Gotta add that to the list.
Gotta add that to the list.
What
What about you?
So the gayest thing about me this week, I went to CC's to Funderwear night last night, which I knew it was Funderwear night.
I've not funderwear. That's
It's fun underwear, Kyle.
yeah,
It's Funderwear.
makes sense. Yeah.
And then like, okay, the gayest thing about me is this conversation that I had, which I didn't know how to feel about at the time, but it was very, very gay. And that was, this dude said, "Oh, you're one of those guys that doesn't know how hot he is." And
Oh,
I didn't know how to answer that. Because if you say yes,
correct.
and if you say no, like, I don't, how are you supposed to respond to that? Anyway,
I would reply sarcastically because that's how I reply to everything.
that's like the only option, really,
yeah, no,
right?
Yeah. Try to make a joke out of it or
Oh
something.
my God.
What did you say?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I was
okay.
very drunk.
Were you in your underwear?
Also, no, I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't get down in my underwear, which maybe I should, because then that was a topic of conversation that I ran into Chris Hagee, which I always run into him at those kinds of events, and he just goes, he came around the corner because he had just gotten done checking in, and he just looked at me and he goes, "Every time." And then I while I was there, hung out with Reverend Sister Berna Bush of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. There were a couple of them there. It was great to sort of catch up and get a little bit of inside info about this whole thing with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The straightest thing about me this week was after I got home, and again, I was drunk, I took my shoes off and I rammed my pinky toe into the wall on the corner here. And then I ended up like fucking up my toenail, and I pulled my pinky toenail off and bled all over everything. That's the straightest thing about me this week.
Wow, we need a trigger warning for this
Oh,
episode
sorry.
just for that.
Do you want to see it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be something there. And there is not. There's just dried up blood instead.
Yep.
We're hurting ourselves.
I know.
We're gonna show up bruised and beaten up to New York City. That's how I like it.
Goodness. Yeah.
Listeners,
Gayest, Straightest, this week's come to us from Discord, and it wasn't in the Canadians Only channel, but probably
But-
should have been. This is from Psychmerse, and it says, "Gayest, Straightest with the one, the only, Hidden." So Psychmerse and Hidden, two of our most active Canadian Discord folks. Straightest, setting up a bar, running electrical cables hither and yon, and carrying heavy things. Gayest, it was for a bear event called Baracus, and the costumes got more revealing as the night went on. They're pics as proof. If you want to see them, join our Discord and go to the Gayest and Straightest channel. Also, yes, I have a staff with multiple glowing gems while dressed as an orc mage, and Hidden is rocking a harness and jock. I am also wearing a jock under my flaps, but it's much harder to see.
Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Wow, we're doing a lot of good promo in this episode.
I guess.
Just left and right. Maybe we are good at this.
Pew pew.
Pew pew. That's it?
That is it. See you in New York, you dirty fuckers.
Yeah, I hope everyone comes out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank our super gap bridgers, Andrew Bugby, Christopher M., John Carly, Stephen Porch, Yost Dilsel, Harry Shaw, Josh Copeland, Jonathan Montañez, Wadu, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, James Barrows, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Kevin Henderson, Thomas B., Timothy Sora, Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York.
That is it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
Until next week. Buy your goddamn tickets.
Buy your fucking tickets. If we haven't, did we mention New York, June 4th, 7 p.m., The Spot. Check it out. Hope you come.
Spell come.